Hi everyone, welcome to my review of the Farrelly brothers, Me, Myself and Irene from 2000. So yes, we are back once again, ready to discuss another Jim Carrey and Farrelly brothers film on the channel. Recently, of course, I discussed Dumb and Dumber, and I did say I'll be reviewing Me, Myself and Irene as well. Rewatching this film, it's been quite a few years since I last saw this one, and yeah, wanted to, of course, rewatch this and then review it on the channel, and yeah. This is a film that means a lot to me, so much, and I saw this from a very young age. It was one of the very first Jim Carrey films that I saw, and yeah, I wanted to give this a massive review today, and to celebrate this film, of course. But yeah, there will be a spoiler warning for this discussion. If you haven't seen this film, I'll simply recommend seeing it first, and then come back to this video, and we can go from there. We can talk about this from the comments, and yeah, discuss various comedies on the channel. So yeah, with all that said, let's discuss my thoughts on this film, and yeah, where to begin. This one. We'll get straight into it. Not only is this one of my favourite, comedy films of all time, and one of my favourite kind of films of the 2000s, but it is one of my favourite films of all time, and I think it's just one of the most nostalgic films for me. The memories of this, and just seeing this as a kid so much. It's one of the first, Jim Carrey's really that I saw. I was around 7 or 8. The first time I saw this all the way through, and I got this on DVD given to us, and just completely fell in love with it, and I think over the years it's a film that has actually I've loved even more the more I've watched it, and as an adult kind of watching it, there's different parts that I've kind of I've picked up on little details watching it as well on Blu-ray recently in recent years, and just there's so much in this film, and getting it the first time round, all of the stuff is obviously going to be quite a challenge, and I think yeah, just the more I've watched this, there's just so much being thought out in this film, and all the narrative as well. The main kind of narrative of this film, the romance, the comedy, all the characters. It's just one of my favourite films. Yeah, what can I say? It's just such a special film to me, and it's kind of it's uplifted me over the years. It's got me through different things, and yeah, just let me see things in a certain way. Just kind of in a nice kind of positive way, this film, and it's just a really, really special film for me, and I think it's kind of a spiritual sequel in a way to Dumb and Dumber, and obviously Jim Carrey's back in this film, and of course he plays Charlie Bailey-Gates, and of course we have this kind of prologue of the film which is quite lengthy. We see Charlie, of course, a policeman, and all the police have moustaches, and for Rhode Island, of course, state police, and yeah, you essentially just see him going about, and he's someone who throughout the film, especially at first, he's someone who's just been walked all over, and is treated quite poorly by everyone. And yeah, people generally just take advantage of him, and yeah, through that he develops this kind of split personality, and of course this other character, which emerges, at some point in the film after the kind of intro there, of course, as Hank, and so we have Charlie and Hank that kind of Jim Carrey plays in this film, and it's done in such a way, he kind of obviously transforms at one point in the film, in the first act, and he does all this kind of insane stuff, and then for the rest of the film, whenever he becomes Hank, Jim Carrey just perfects this kind of acting here, because he kind of changes his expression, the kind of the voice that he kind of puts on, and just his stance and the things that he says. His whole personality is completely different. So we've got Jim Carrey playing two different characters really, although one of the same in a sense as well, and he kind of tries to battle Hank, especially in the final act, and then things do come to a close with that, and they are kind of progressed with, at least, the final act, and Charlie kind of emerges as the dominant, kind of personality, and I think just the way it's done throughout the film is in such a comedic way, and also very emotional as well, and it's very moving. I think just the way in which Jim Carrey plays this is just perfection. I think this is one of the very, very best, if not my favourite performance from Jim Carrey actually in all of his films, and I just think the way we've got this kind of innocent, really likeable Charlie, and he's just so lovable in this film, and then we've got the kind of out there, Hank, and just absolutely hilarious, the stuff that Hank does and says throughout the film to different characters. But yeah, the prologue, it's just, I love it so much. Even just something that in many films could be very, brief, and kind of sets up the film. Of course, with this one, it's quite lengthy, and we get, just this whole backstory to, Charlie. And this first act is just so charming. It's just something else, and it's just a magical kind of part of the film, and really nostalgic. And we have obviously the kids as well in the film. Jim Carrey's kind of interactions with him and the kids, it's just priceless. Of course, we've got Mongo Brownlee playing Lee Harvey. We've got Anthony Anderson, the great Anthony Anderson, playing Jamal, who's kind of the one that we focus on a bit more in the film, and obviously as well Jerod Mixon playing Shante Jr., and we have the kind of the kids at first, and obviously Charlie's wife kind of leaves him for Tony Cox in the film, and it's just absolutely hilarious the way that comes about, and just the interactions there as well, and the kind of fight that they have. But it is quite sad, obviously, when Charlie's left by his wife to kind of look after the kids, on his own, single parent, of course. But there's that uplifting nature of just Charlie carrying on regardless, and just looking after the kids, and they have great times with their dad, and one of the great, for me in cinema, transitions of all time. For a time passing, we have the kids sitting down, obviously watching Richard Pryor, because they say we watch with Charlie, of course, can we watch Richard Pryor, and the stand-up, of course, routine that they kind of see, and that is absolutely hilarious. The reactions from the kids, and it seems like Charlie kind of just grows to allow them to watch the swearing and all this, and just over time we have that transition to all of them grown up, and you just see Jim Carrey kind of in the middle there with them all on top of him, crowding him on the sofa, and just them continuing to laugh. This time at Chris Rock, obviously performing stand up, and it's just so funny to see the comedy over the years, and them kind of watching this with their dad, and it's just unbelievable, that transition there. It's just one of my favourite transitions in cinema, and from there we really have one of my favourite kind of father-sons dynamics in cinema history. Actually, I just love every single one of the interactions with all the kids, and Jim Carrey, and it's just this chemistry, this kind of charm to it, and the magic to it, and I think individually as well, the kids are so funny. Anthony Anderson is just stand out in this film. He's just so funny, and just all of the kids, and the kind of traits, and the way that they are as a team as well, and how they involved in the plot. So it's not luckily something that is just in the first act. They are involved quite heavily in the film, and they try to rescue in the end Charlie and Irene, and I think that's just so great. They get in the helicopter, and it just it's just so funny, and just the way they team up with Whitey in the film as well, played by Michael Bowman, which we'll get to. I think it's just so great, and it all comes together so perfectly in the final act, obviously as well, with Irene, played by Renée Zellweger in this film. She is just so great here. This is my favourite performance from her, and of course this romance is kind of the main kind of force of the film, really. At one point, and this kind of road trip, of course, adventure film begins. Around the half an hour mark, really, and of course Charlie is tasked with kind of just transporting her. This believed to be criminal, and it all unfolds from there. We have that first kind of prologue, the first act, and after that is the main bulk of the film, and we have this kind of, as I say, road trip, kind of romance, adventure film, and this ensemble really, where all of the characters, all of the characters that are with Jim Carrey on his side, even just the side characters in this film, they all have a purpose, really, or are memorable in their own right, and just every single scene of this film, every sequence, every single moment, just is strung together in such a way. The flow of it, and just the way it kind of builds, and it adds momentum to the narrative. We have some of the best character development I've seen in the comedy, and the performances across the board. It's just absolutely stunning. And Chris Cooper in this film with Richard Jenkins, this pairing, as the kind of villains of the film, and it's just, this is so great. I love Richard Jenkins, of course, and just Chris Cooper kind of plays this real kind of nasty villain, and just the way in which he kind of pursues Charlie and Irene in the film. I just absolutely love Dickie as well. Great character, and just the way in which you've got that backstory as well with him and Irene, and that kind of the history of them, and I think when Irene comes into the picture, this is when the film gets even better, and I think from then on it's just it kind of keeps topping itself, really, and we've got the progression with Charlie Hank, that kind of whole plot there, and the way in which it's kind of interwoven with the criminals, and the kind of the way in which they're done, and I just love the way it kind of comes to a close in the final act. But we just gradually have this kind of romance as well developing between Irene and Charlie, and at times he switches back to Hank, and obviously she's not as big on Hank, Irene. Just the way in which this adds for comedy in the film, and Hank, of course, at times riles up Irene, and then she does stuff, and it's Charlie that gets the actual hit, and all this, and feels the pain. It's just so funny, and I love just the way we first have as well, though, Charlie transforming, and he just finally flips, and that is such a great moment in the film, and when he just kind of goes nuts on everyone, and obviously Robert Forster kind of playing the Colonel in this film. Robert Forster kind of is the one that kind of sees the Charlie, gets the kind of the word that things have gone wrong, when it kind of culminates with Charlie, in the kind of the lawn there, the neighbour and the newspaper and all this, something that's kind of built up so well, and it culminates, in that kind of moment there, and that leads to Robert Forster, his character kind of trying to calm down Charlie, and obviously sends him on this mission. Obviously, there are some things behind the scenes that are going on there, but Charlie's just thinking he's going to be transporting Irene, across the country, and I think the way in which Charlie throughout kind of transforms to Hank, it does have a progression to it, and in the final act, it's literally Charlie and Hank battling it out, to see who can be the dominant kind of personality, and I think the way this is done is so great, and it really is. It's kind of like a superhero film at times, and we've got Charlie, and Hank, these two different kind of parts of the personality of the character, and I think just the way they do battle themselves, and the physicality of this, the way Jim Carrey kind of plays this is just one of the best, kind of comedic performances I've ever seen, and I think he really just commits to this performance, and it's just all out, kind of crazy stuff, but so much control, and just as I say, the way in which Charlie and Hank have a very distinct personality, and they are kind of one of the same, though they're in the same kind of body, and it's played so perfectly. I think it's just wow, it's just epic. It's just so kind of funny, and it just adds for so much creative physical comedy in the film that I think it's just really one of the best comedic performances I've ever seen, and the way in which this romance develops it becomes one of my favourites really, and I think just everything about this romance, the way that Irene at first is kind of this real unique character, and she's doesn't take any nonsense from anyone, and she's really just headstrong and very different to Charlie, but the way in which they kind of form this bond, and this romance, I thought was just perfectly done, and it's just the emotions I feel from this, and the way in which it kind of develops, all the details, like the kind of the picture that Jim Carrey, Charlie shows Irene in the film, of him and the kids messing around, dressing up, in the Wizard of Oz costumes, all that, that is one of my favourite kind of details in the film, and it does kind of play a part later on, in the final scenes where Irene once again looks at the picture, and she smiles and she looks back, and it makes her feel this feeling here, and she looks back, of course, to the times with Charlie, and of course at that point, if you didn't know that Charlie would be kind of organising this whole kind of wedding proposal, it would be a very sad ending, but of course it is a very uplifting ending, one of my favourites personally of all time, and just love the way in which this comes together with a romance. It brings me to tears, this one. And just the chemistry between Renée Zellweger and Jim Carrey in this film is just perfect, and I loved the romance so much, and it's so well built up. It's very realistic, even though this film is very fantastical at times, just like Dumb and Dumber, the Farrellys, it's definitely something that's very grounded as well, to the point where I feel so much emotions, and I think just the way in which it comes together in the end, it is one of my favourite endings, and the way in which as well we have obviously the kids in the plane, and Whitey as well, kind of with the message there, the kind of proposal there, and that's just wow, it all comes together so perfectly, and the music, of course, Ellis Paul, the main theme of the film, The World Ain't Slowing Down. This is one of my favourite modern songs. I absolutely love it, and I think just throughout my life, it's been a very kind of watching this film and listening to this song, especially, it's brought so much to me, and I think just the way it's used in the film quite a few times when they're kind of just on the road at first. That's when it's first played, and it's just you see these amazing shots. Of course, the visuals to this film, absolutely stunning, and I think this is the best. In terms of visuals for the Farrellys that I've seen, and it's just absolutely stunning the way the film looks, and the way in which the music is used throughout the film is just so unbelievable, and it really has such a meaning to the characters and the themes in the film as well, and in the way in which, in a sense, it's about kind of moving on, and kind of just being excited for change in that sense, and that's really something I picked up on, and I think that's something that's helped me over the years actually in trying to kind of process change, and I think the way in which it's kind of such a positive and kind of eye-opening look at the world, I think, and just the way in which change can be exciting, and things when they do change, and things can come about, it can be so positive, and I think just to kind of go for it, and kind of remember the point as well with the song, being as a kid, and how you felt, and different things that you've done, you just kind of at times went for it, and perhaps you built up a thing over time. You've got in a rut, all this kind of stuff. It can mean many different things. It does, at least for Charlie, kind of mean that, and the way in which he kind of just takes everything and he kind of just gets stuck in this rut really, and doesn't kind of go out there, and kind of he's not as excited for the world. And I think the song and the way that the kind of film is written, the characters, the development of the romance, and the way this is the journey and the kind of road trip effect, the adventure of this is done, it all kind of leads into that, and it does kind of come together so perfectly in the end. And when that song once again plays, it's just, it really means so much to me. And I think it does, as I say, it brings so much to me in a positive way, this film, just in that narrative, kind of the way it kind of unfolds, and these themes that I think it truly is a special film to me in that sense. Just every time I see this, when the kids and Whitey are in the plane, and they kind of just say, come back, thanks for watching our film, that is just such a hilarious moment. But it's also something that's kind of like saying, we look forward to seeing you on a rewatch, and whenever that may be, you come back whenever you want. And it's one of the most unique endings I've ever seen, and it's one of my favourites there. And also, we have the great credits, and then the post-credits scene where the characters are looking for the thumb, of Charlie, and of course Whitey, and the kids and Irene all together there, and it really it uplifts me so much. The fact that they all, as well, through the narration, we learn that they all kind of ended up living together, as this kind of family, and it's just so great. Not just Irene and the kids and Charlie, but also Whitey, who's this character I love so much. Halfway through the film, really, Jim Carrey, kind of Charlie here meets Whitey. First, Hank is the one that meets him, and he kind of insults him. But Whitey kind of tags along, with them for the ride, and this is something I love about the Farrellys. In other films, a lot of other films, it would be just random side characters who are really memorable, but that's it. That's the rest of the film. They never show up again. Not only are they in the Farrelly brothers films, Dumb and Dumber in this film, they're kind of on the road with them, with the main characters, but they also kind of play such a pivotal role in the plot. And I think when Whitey at the end kind of says rock and roll, and he shoots Dickie there, that is just epic stuff. And it's just something I love about the Farrellys, the way they use just kind of background characters. It would be in other films, and they build them up. They give character development to Whitey, for example, and we think at one point that he's killed all his family, but he kind of just said that to Charlie to kind of scare him off, so nothing would potentially happen to Whitey, as a kind of a way to kind of protect himself in that sense. And I think in the end we learn that his parents just moved away, and they left him kind of on his own. So yeah, it's just great how we have that kind of the way in which that's so satisfying as well with Whitey, and the way that all these different characters play a part in the film, and the road trip feeling of this. For me, Dumb and Dumber, of course, is perfect for its road trip effect, but this one is my personal favourite, in that sense. Just the way in which the music is used, various songs in the film, of course, Can't Find the Time to Tell You as well. That whole sequence there, the kind of montage, once again, the Farrellys on form with the montage. They perfected it in this film. Also, in Dumb and Dumber as well, it's perfect. But in this film, I think it goes even further, and I think the way the songs are used is kind of both uplifting, emotional, spiritual, but also hilarious. And I think just the style that they bring to this film, and just it's very different to Dumb and Dumber. It's less raw, it's more refined, and also it's more of a family film, even though it's a bit more kind of, you could say, more full on in places, more graphic, definitely, and more kind of all out in the comedy. It's more of a family film, and more kind of something where you've got multiple different characters, along the way that are kind of part of this unit. And I think the road trip effect it has, though, it's just unbelievable. And I think it's just a magical film from start to finish. And I think all of the characters, the kids, Whitey, Dickie, you've got, of course, Agent Beauchene, and played by kind of Richard Jenkins in this film. He is so great, and obviously Chris Cooper as well. In this, he's just absolutely amazing. And that final act, when it all comes together, and you've got Chris Cooper, Richard Jenkins pursuing them both, of course, aboard the trains and all this. It's just unbelievable stuff. And I think when one of my favourite moments of this film as well in the final act is when we've got kind of Jim Carrey running, and the montage sequence when Irene is kind of trying to stay hidden on the kind of train there, and Richard Jenkins especially pursuing her. You've got the song playing there, and it's just kind of Irene hiding there, and she goes out, she takes a disguise, and all the while, Chris Cooper is pursuing, of course, Charlie. We've got that beforehand, and he gets run over by Charlie there, Charlie and Hank, and it's just so funny when Charlie said his reaction to Chris Cooper in the wave, and then Hank kind of immediately comes in there and runs over Chris Cooper, and they go around the corner again. Constantly, really rapidly flipping back between Charlie and Hank. Just the way it's edited, this sequence, and the music, of course, Strange Condition playing as well, over this sequence. It's just epic, it's kind of magical, and the way things culminate, with this final act, and these sequences are just strung together here. It's just unbelievable stuff. I get shivers from this, and the way the music is used, and that moment when Jim Carrey jumps, to the car and, as it's going down the road, and of course, jumps into the driver's seat, and we've got once again the reactions between Charlie and Hank, and in the mirror, of course. It's just unbelievable, and I think this film, the way it's shot, the music, everything about this, the editing, is just perfection from the Farrellys, and it's just kind of like, as I say, a superhero film where we have Charlie and Hank kind of battling it out, especially in the end, and Charlie emerging, as the kind of dominant one in the end, and it's just an ending that it just brings me so much kind of joy and also emotion. And when we have the kind of roadblock once again for Irene, and she's getting so sick of this now, and she thinks what's she done or what's she not done now, and of course she gets out, and Robert Forster, his character kind of says a few things to her and does the search, and then it kind of cuts to Jim Carrey, being the one that's searching her. It's just one of my favourite kind of moments really in the film, and just that whole kind of ending there is so magical, and the subtle reactions from the characters there, the police and Robert Forster, especially that kind of real, just warm smile there, and the reactions, and of course Jim Carrey, and of course Renée Zellweger, that kind of that moment there, the romance kind of culminates. It's such an ending, one of my favourites, as I say, and I think just really a magical way to kind of bring the film to a close. So in that sense, as a romance, this film is definitely one of my favourites. Wanting the characters to kind of end up together in the end, it's one of the best cases of that in a film ever for me, and just got so invested in this, and at the same time, in terms of a comedy, the physicality of this, and just the writing, and all the details, and the way things emerge in the final act that kind of hinted at first, and the cow as well, that kind of returns, in the kind of around the credits. It's just so funny, but just as a comedy, for me, it's one of the most hilarious films ever made, and I think just one of my favourite, kind of sequences is kind of a cotton mouth part, of the film, and it's just so funny with the kind of medication Jim Carrey, Charlie's been taking, and just kind of the kind of interaction as well, and he says, to Irene, he gets unbelievable cotton mouth. He says about, kind of, she says, you numb and all this. That was absolutely hilarious, and after that it does lead to just Charlie kind of taking the medication. He gets cotton mouth, and his face there, and the reaction of everyone. Irene is startled, and he kind of, as well before that, you've got the bit in that same kind of room there when he's kind of spraying out the water everywhere, choking, and it's just so funny. And I think as well, when we have just various moments in the film when Jim Carrey, Charlie's kind of, and Hank, they're kind of just interacting with various people, and we've got the bit where he says, "Hey, ringworm," and he gets beaten up and tasered, and it's just so funny. It does lead to obviously then Charlie being in a cast around his neck, and broken nose, and it's just so funny, and just the way in which this kind of it's done throughout the narrative, and it kind of has a drawback for Charlie, something he has to overcome, usually because Hank has caused this, and because he's come out and he's antagonised someone, of course. It's just so well done, but just various moments throughout the film, every single comedic scene in this film is just laugh out loud, and it really is just one of the funniest films ever made, and I think just the whole bit at the first, when Charlie snaps, and Hank of course comes out, and it's just everything in this film, all the reactions and interactions with the kids as well throughout, and the way Jim Carrey kind of has this chemistry with all the actors. It's priceless, it really is, and I think it's, for me as well, it's so cinematic, this film, and the way the narration is done, and it's just so confident in the way it's told, this film. I really think it's one of the most realised, kind of well done comedies of all time, and I just think everything about the way the story is told. It's just, these are masters of the craft here. The Farrellys, the writing and the directing, and just the way the film is put together, and everyone involved in this film, all the performances to this, all the characters, and just the music throughout. Perfect use of music throughout the entire film, and the way it's kind of tied to the characters and where they are in the film, and the themes of this, and I think just I listen to the music all the time to this film, and it's just one of my favourite road trip films. The adventure feel it has, all the locations, once again being set in Rhode Island, which it's just so great, just like Dumb and Dumber, of course, parts of that. And I think this film, it has such a kind of unique summery feel throughout the entire film. Really, it's just sunny, and I just love that about the film. It just adds so much kind of warmth and charm to the way the characters are adventuring, and it's just the look of the film. It's just so nostalgic. It really does kind of invest me so much and get me wrapped up in this, and it's just something I get. I'm in the film, and so wrapped up in this narrative, all the characters, and just the kind of adventure of this and the whole journey of this. And I love particular favourites, the Cottonmouth sequence, and just various moments with the kids, and Whitey as well, and Irene, and just I think in terms of comedy, just the bit where Hank and Charlie is in the car, and we have that can't find the time to tell you, the whole kind of montage there, and particularly when Charlie, Irene says to Charlie, what's that on you? After Charlie just played a prank on Irene, and he says he's not falling for that. How dumb does he look? And it's a tarantula, of course, crawling up him, and it just cuts to the kind of real aggressive kind of swerving there, kind of pulling over the side of the road, and then running out and just kind of going crazy, and hey, and I just love all the kind of mannerisms and the traits, and the kind of quotes, of this character of Charlie and Hank as well in the film, and the way he has these kind of catchphrases in a sense, and his voice as well, Hank, and just I think everything about this character, it's just one of my favourite kind of protagonists in a comedy ever, and I think just all the things he says to the public, and just as well to the main characters in the film, to Irene. It's just this real complex romance at first, but one that emerges as just one of my absolute favourites in cinema. So I absolutely love this film, as I say, from start to finish. For me, this is an absolute masterpiece, and it's one of the greatest comedies of all time, and it's one of my favourite films of all time. I can return to this to get a level of comfort from it, and just to kind of it really adds a lot to my experience, and it's something that just I return to this, and I get so much laughter, joy from it. Uplifts me, inspires me, and of course just moves me as well, and it's just hilarious throughout. I love everything about this film, the look, the feel of it, the atmosphere, the kind of nostalgic moments, and just the soundtrack and all the characters and the narrative. I think the Farrellys directed this to perfection, and I think it's just this epic, satisfying showdown. So my rating for this film is 100% plus tier 1. Wow, this film truly is one of my absolute favourite films of all time, and it just means so much to me. It's so special. I've watched it countless times over the years. As I say, I was around 7, 8 when I first started watching this film, and it's meant so much to me. I used to, as well in school, in primary, kind of reenact parts of this film. Actually be Charlie, Hank. Moments I actually reenacted and done this for real, and just so many memories of this, and I've seen it many times over the years, and I think it's one that every time I see it, I get even more from, and it really is a firm favourite, among my list of favourite, films, and I think it's just one of the most kind of realised, as I say, comedy films of all time. I think the physicality, the writing, the script to this film, the direction, of course, by the Farrellys, and the whole kind of world that is created is so unique and familiar there as well. It's something you can get instantly kind of relatable kind of feeling from, and also it's kind of this fantastical kind of it's elevated really the comedy in this film in such a way, and I think just the way the universe that is created in this film, and also the way it progresses and culminates, I think it's just something I get 100% purely wrapped up in, and it's so unique, and I've never seen a film like this. That's what I'll say for that. I think it's just I've never seen a comedy or any kind of film like this one at all, and it's so unique, and it is distinctly the Farrellys, but it's quite unique as well in that sense. Even compared to Dumb and Dumber, it's got a different feel, and it's just one of my all-time favourite films, and I absolutely love this one from start to finish. It is for me perfection, and absolutely magical film to watch. So yeah, that's my thoughts. What do you think on this film? It would be great to hear in the comments. Leave your thoughts down below, and we can discuss this film. Jim Carrey, of course, the Farrelly brothers, and celebrate cinema. So yes, as always, take care, and thanks for watching.